liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome, everyone.
Good morning, Neil.
We'll start with the agenda. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we have the minutes of the previous meeting, the March 21st meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Yeah, I believe the minutes read well. The only question, technicality, is whether or not when the board actually met, it says 9 o'clock, and we met after the conference board,
I could put in there,
9:20.
upon the conclusion of.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a
Conference board
technicality,
meeting.
but that's the only thing.
Okay.
The only thing that I saw was, and I don't know if this is a clarification or if we can just leave it as it is, on Dave's presentation on the bridge inspections, there was that $7,800 and then with $300 in additional cost. I wonder if that's a little confusing, or, what was that $300 actually for? I think it's for, like, maybe why don't they put it in as 8,100, I guess? That's
Well,
the
then
only
they
thing.
just bill us 8,100. The 300, the way I understood it, is they could run into additional costs,
Okay.
not to exceed 300. That's the way I
That-
understood it.
That was
but-
the only thing that kind of caught my eye when I read that, but.
Then maybe you would like to state with $300 in potential added cost? Because
Something like
the
that.
way you read it, the way it does read, as you interpret it, is that it's gonna be there.
Yeah, what is the addition? What
Or
is
you
that
could,
for?
or you could say $8,100, not to exceed $8,100, you could.
That would cover
Yeah.
I
Not
would
to exceed
suggest we
81.
Not to
have it
exceed
read for $7,800 with up to $300 in potential additional cost. Would that be okay there?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any better ideas? Okay.
With those, let's see, was there a change with yours, Mark?
The time on the
Just the
start.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
With those two amendments to the minutes, I will approve, or make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the minutes with those two changes. Any discussion on that motion? I'll call for question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Gene will not be here today, so he informed me of that on Friday after. Okay, Dave, we're gonna start with secondary roads, and
got a bunch of handouts here.
I just wanted to state, in our thing, they had smart transportation planning, and the feature thing was the angular thing on on the asphalt, which we're doing in Carroll County. So that's the top
It's the safety
safety
edge.
feature that they're asking us to incorporate it, and we are incorporating it. So kudos to the engineering department.
First one's coming around, there should be, yeah, that should be one for Gene there already. There we go. Got mine. And then here comes a map, got one for Gene already out there.
Okay.
Oh, there's more attached here, Dave.
Hmm?
This here.
Yeah, you'll need one of them too, you know.
Okay, I got mine.
Dave,
All tied
Gene
up.
got one of these? Did you give Gene one of these?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I'll give myself a map, is there an extra map laying around?
Yeah, I got one.
I'm trying to take two
Yeah, there you go.
You just seeing if you had
Snuck underneath there.
Got the
it, you just
deck
seeing if
all
you had it
built.
memorized?
Yeah.
Okay, all the cards have now been dealt. Let's get down to business.
Looks like a pretty fair sized tree. Not quite sure where to start, but the program and the map kind of go together. We could kind of march down through the program quick. If you look on the left-hand side of the program, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 5, 6, kind of highlighted in yellow.
I do.
Those correspond with the numbers, just a single or dual digit number on the map. So hopefully you can find one of these here. Ely Bridge, for instance, one we just let, don't really know the exact amount of it, but it's just northeast of Glidden. Between it and the J34 Township line box, number 1 and number 2. Number 2 is straight south of Carroll on the township line. Those are the two that were just let at the DOT for $263,000. I put them in the program, could probably left them out, but I put them in the program just for clarity, because I don't think they're gonna get done in in this current fiscal year. Even though they're part of it, they were let in this fiscal year, I think they're gonna go into 2017. Number 3 on the list is the Crawford County Line Railroad Overpass. That's down by Manning there, number 3. That's half of Crawford County, half of Carroll County, using bridge replacement funds, our BROS funds, 80% for the majority of the expenditure. We've got a design on that one that's, we're getting close to submitting that to the railroad. D13 and D19, the next two, number 4 and number 5, both are on Eagle Avenue up by Breda. See number 4 and number 5 up there. They were let on March 7th. Again, I don't think they're gonna get done in fiscal year 16, so I programmed them and left them in 17. Could've left them out, but put them in because more likely they're gonna be expenditures within this next current fiscal year. D8 bridge is on Birch Avenue.
Way up there in the northwest corner.
Yeah, number 6.
There he is, yeah.
Mr. Dean, he knows where it's at. I was wondering there for a second.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Okay, I'm very familiar with that one.
Number 7
Ooh, by that one.
is south of Glidden, on the box culvert. Number 8 is north Glidden, on the box culvert. Number 9 is west of Dedham. We've got that one down as a large metal pipe. Number 10 is another one that we let on March 7th. And it's over to the west of Templeton, near the intersection. That number 11 is miscellaneous culverts. We can do up to $50,000 worth of culverts in arbitrary places. We usually put that in for unforeseen culverts in excess of 36 inches, and then we'll.
So they're not on map.
They're not on the map. And number 12 is the Manning Shoulders, just south of Manning. Talked a little bit about that. I put that in as a day labor project, the one that we do with the county crew. Our limit on that is $93,000. I programmed it for 90. The next one is N44 shoulders and N33 shoulders, 13, 14. I programmed both of those as day labor projects on the outside chance that we would get a chance to clean some ditches and put dirt on them. I don't think there's gonna be a great deal of work done there, but hopefully we can do some work on it, because we certainly do have a lot of ditch cleaning to do, and we have a place to take the dirt. Seemed like a good place to go. Number 15 is the Honlos Bridge. That one's gonna be done with federal aid funds. It's straight west or east of Willie. We're now getting into the second fiscal year, fiscal year 18.
That one's fiscal year 18.
That was fiscal year 18. So as we go down the line, hopefully these should be ordered sequentially by fiscal year, so if I remember, I'll tell you when we're jumping into the next one. Box culvert, call the Antisdale box, number 16, south and east of Glidden. Next is Old 30 box, that one number 17, that's straight west of Carroll on Old 30. And number 18 is the Kevin Rickey box, it's just off Old 30, further west of there, kind of south of Arcadia. Bad metal pipe there right now. Lanesboro box is on E19, or just south of Lanesboro, number 19. The Willow Creek Bridge, number 20. It's just to the west of, east of Glidden. On Old 30, Old 30's getting some action. The Dedham Railroad overpass, it's just right by Dedham. It's been in the program for quite a while. We're continuing to push with that with at-grade crossing. I think we're gonna meet with the property owner this afternoon.
Yep.
In fact, next one, Halbert US 71, asphalt resurfacing. So that'd be going through Halbert, Roselle, number 22. The next, I think the next four would be 2018's asphalt program. Swan Lake Road, number 23, just south of Swan Lake. And number 24 would be east of Templeton. Number 25 and number 26 are STP candidates for that year. The two of them together would expend about 1.2 million of STP money. The balance would be 300,000 of farm to market money that they would be. And then number 27 is on into the third fiscal year of the 5-year program. Brugman Bridge, we went over that on the tour. It's one of them up there where the flowing well is. Number 28 is north of Breda. There's a wooden repodal. Actually, that's like a wooden bridge, but it's in the shape of a box culvert, just north of Breda. Number 29 is a bridge on E53, and number 30. They're kind of almost next to each other. They're both real small bridges, in pretty tough shape. Both of them are. Really decided that one's probably going to have to be a bridge, and the other one could be a box culvert.
Where are those at, Dave?
They're kind of just north and east of Willie, down a diagonal about a mile north
Got 'em.
and east
Oh,
of
yeah.
Willie. Number 31 is on paved road south of Dedham, and 36 box culvert. Number 32 is Crawford County line. Another small bridge or a box culvert there. Number 33, Falcon Avenue. We've called that the Dries Bridge before. It's kind of in that neck of the woods, but it's north and east of Manning, about maybe 3 miles as the crow would fly, diagonally, northeast. Number 34, we'll call the Earlbeck grade, which is north and east of Templeton, in red.
This is still FY18.
Yes, it is, FY19.
This is-
Sorry. It's easy to get those confused. And number 35, the Dedham Willie Blacktop, asphalt resurfacing of it. And that's the last one in FY19. Coming into FY20, northeast of Litterdale, there's a 36 there, the Goetzer Bridge, that's actually 2 culverts. program quite a few years, and it got done mainly because it gets beat out by ones with higher traffic. Number 37 is Sliceman Bridge, which would be just south of the county line, straight north of Litterdale, 1 mile south of the county line. We drove over that one on a tour too. Number 38 is G9 Truss Bridge, which is just south of Litterdale, a mile, back to the west a little bit. Number 39 is Lasher's Corner East. It's asphalt resurfacing north of Litterdale. Number 40 is south of Lanesboro, asphalt resurfacing, those 2 miles on E19. Number 41 is N38 resurfacing north of Litterdale, 2 miles. And number 42 is on the Greene County line. Again, asphalt resurfacing. That's the last one in fiscal 20. In fiscal 21, there's only 4 projects in it. There's a wood bridge, former Ray Cruz farm, south of Lanesboro, about 2 miles. Next one is the OCO to Halber resurfacing, that 3 mile stretch in there. The next one is south of Manning, resurfacing that stretch. And the final one is the OCO itself. The very last page shows a breakdown by funding. Road funding is kind of confusing because there's different checkbooks things are paid with. On the left-hand column, under year, you've got local or LCL, FMO is farm to market only. SPC would be some special fund, which we didn't have any special, but it could be like a RISE fund or something like that that doesn't come along very often. And then FA is federal aid. The local funds are really what we're programming for in this program. Actually, they're the ones that appear in the budget. The local funds do. The program shows all of the funds, local, farm to market, federal aid, or bridge replacement, but the budget, the local budget is, that's only in this document right here, the local funds. The farm to market funds, currently we have a negative balance in our farm to market account of around 700,000. We get roughly $1,046,000 receipts in the farm to market fund a year. The accounting for the farm to market fund is all done at Ames. The lettings are all done at Ames if they're out of the farm to market fund. For instance, Virginia Halber Bridge, for instance, that had farm to market money in it, 20%, and 80% bridge replacement money, and the letting was at Ames. So the last 2 box culverts we did are on the farm to market system. They were let at Ames, and they had a combination of farm to market money and bridge replacement money in them. It's more confusing when you have 2 sets of money. We rarely have 3, but the bridge replacement, we're right now, after letting these 2 culverts, we're roughly in the hole $230,000 with that. We get an allocation of $210,000 a year, so we're roughly in the hole a year's. We can go in the whole 6 years with that, I believe. With our farm to market fund, we can go negative for 3 years currently. The Iowa code says we can go 5, but they've restricted it to 3 recently to try and maintain the balance. It allows you to do a larger project than we would. Also with the farm to market fund, you can build no more than a 3 years balance. If you build over 3 years balance and don't expend it they take the money away from you. And the same thing as with the bridge replacement fund. So you're kind of caught between the rock and the hard spot. It's probably best to keep your money spent, maybe spend a little bit in the negative. And I think that's what most do. And every now and then, there's somebody that loses farm to market money or bridge replacement money. More often, bridge replacement money lately than farm to market money.
Where's the bridge replacement?
Goes into federal aid, doesn't it?
The bridge replacement is federal aid, and it is under the federal aid column, under that. It's kind of buried in there, because there's one other thing in there. There's the STIP funds, STP, State Transportation Program. And that's what we share with 6 other counties. Roughly every 5 to 6 years, we'll have a project with STP funds. The one we're having the next time is be the Litterdale Road and the Breeder Road, the asphalt resurfacing. And we'll spend about 1.2 million of STP funds, and the balance will be farm-to-market money, since it's on the farm-to-market system.
So STP goes into the federal aid also?
STP goes in that federal aid also. So
Okay.
in the combined total of 2,258,000, clear over at the right, 1,200 of that is STP. The other amount is BR funds. Maybe a tad under-programmed with BR funds, but by the time we get going down the line,
It'll change.
It'll change. And we just don't want to. We want to keep it spent. We don't want to lose the money. That's for sure. So, and there's different rules with each one of those too. The closer you get to the feds, the more difficult it gets to spend money. There's more hoops to jump through. And the local money, or our money that we have here, is the friendliest to expend with the least amount of hoops.
In my head, I've always thought that those were 80-20. Are they always 80-20, or does that change? Or is that just?
Generally, the bridge replacement funds are always 80-20. The STP funds, depending upon the size of the project, it could be a maximum of 80-20, but they could drop down. Say you had a really large project and your allocation was relatively small to that, you could consume all your allocation that you would get. And
Have we done any of those recently, that you recall?
yes, I'm going brain dead right now. I can't think of the last one that we did. And the next one we're gonna do is 218. It was asphalt. Trying to think what it was. It was just, we just had it. It was the Halber Road in 14.
And it was something like a 60-40 then, or something like that?
Yeah, that one was a little less, yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions on that? That's,
On the, I think it was the third one down, Crawford County line, you had 336. Is that the total cost, or is that our half?
that's our half.
That's our half, okay. And then,
That could be a little on the low side too.
It's a pretty good-sized bridge there.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a 180-foot beam bridge.
and you can't guarantee 100% accuracy on anything.
No,
Right. I just noted, compared to last year's, we got 16 million in this year's 5-year plan. There was 11 million in last year's 5-year plan. And there's quite a difference in 2019.
Uh-huh.
I don't know offhand what that was. I could go back and look. Do you?
I don't either.
Okay, I'll go back and look, but I see we, in last year's 5-year plan, we had 780,000. And this year, it's, 3,055,000 for 2019, quite a change there. And then the other increase was, we're picking up more in 21 than what we're dropped off here in 16.
I rarely look at it that way. That would seem to be a logical way to look at it, but I kind of look at it fresh and new each time, what we might combine with, and there's always things that you get done. If you do go back and look at the 5-year plans, it seems like, oh, that's been a 5-year plan forever, but a lot of stuff does go through the 5-year plan and.
It's
It's
kind of nice
pushed
to
back.
look.
and get down, yeah.
Or pushed up or pushed back.
Uh-huh.
We've really knocked a lot of them off the 5-year plan in the last couple of years, actually.
Yeah, yeah, if you look at it, it's kind of surprising. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like,
Mhm.
well, that's been there for years. But others come on and some go off for one reason or another, but generally because there's been something done.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Any other questions on that part?
The secondary road budget, it's basically the same as the county budget. I think the beginning balance, I changed it a little bit, and I didn't bring the county budget along with me, just refined it a little bit more with the same receipts and same expenditures in the last, the one they call next, July 1 of 16 to June 30th of 17. I guess I can read down through the numbers, but we've been down this path before.
So the good thing is there's nothing different from our county budget that you need to go over here.
Basically, the expenditures are the same, so that's the real meat. And I keep trying to refine the balance the closer we get to it, but you just really kind of chasing your tail doing that too. Are they gonna get that gravel down? Are they gonna vet that? Is it
Mhm.
snowplow's gonna come? Are they gonna start those box culverts? It's
Sure.
really hard to guesstimate whether that's gonna happen. It's just an educated guess.
Dave, in your receipts, what would be the next or the fiscal year 17,
Uh-huh.
why are you showing such a significant increase in your time 21? Whereas the other three were fairly stable. Looks like it increases rather dramatically.
I think that probably came through with the new road use tax with the 10 cents a gallon. I think that came through with that. Those are the estimates that I'm getting from the DOT. Time 21 is pretty quirky the way that, and I couldn't really explain it. It's awful complicated, the way they allocate the time 21 money.
I mean, we're getting the 10 cents now. And why are they showing it, that increase there?
I can't tell you, Mark.
It's all right. And there's no bridge replacement funds coming in for, in the current?
In the current
Current
year,
year.
yeah. Initially, we anticipated some would come, but they're not. That would be for the Brody Bridge. That bridge will have bridge replacement money passing through. That should start about April,
This,
this coming April, but we probably won't get any reimbursement until the next fiscal year.
Similar question was asked a few years ago about a budgeting thing, and Dave didn't specifically answer that question, but he did provide us a few years ago on a graph that showed how the funding works for the DOT and in a graph form here. You probably remember handing this to us,
Mhm.
and I certainly am not going to explain it either, but this and the following pages clearly demonstrates how complicated the DOT budget is.
And
with
the
all
time
different-
21 fund is the worst of the others, because several things have to be fulfilled till time 21, because time 21, we only get 20% out of time 21, instead of our 37.5. And so. that's
Yeah,
that.
the time 21 is this bucket right here.
It's a pretty big
It
bucket.
shows a lot of different things going into it, and it labels them all.
I remember when Dave gave that to us, and I went home and solved a Rubik's Cube for the first time.
Yeah, it's right on that. Yeah, it's the engineer's Rubik's Cube.
Every time they explain
Went home and
time
did it.
21 to us, we all sit
Did you
there.
see
Yeah,
that?
and
right.
hear that.
Have you got that?
Yeah,
You should
actually, I
get a
think
copy of that.
I got that at the new officers training.
It's
Okay.
wild.
And,
It's
yeah, it
wild.
was just nuts to me.
So if someone asks you where are the time 21s, just get out the chart and say right there. and
Yeah.
That's the only answer you give them.
It changes every 6 months.
Okay.
I think there's 6 buckets of money in time 21. I think that's right. It's crazy. Hard to get your head around.
The whole funding thing is kind of
Time
complex.
21, you count everything going in there, Mark.
Yeah. It shows 3 here, but.
Yeah, but those 3 are made up of several other ones.
Right.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
All right. All right. Okay, Dave, thanks for going over the 5-year road plan. Are there any other questions from the board on this? Is there anything that was out of place or thought it should be moved up or back or anything like that? And we're just overwhelmed with the uncertainty of a lot of things. For example, you're meeting with somebody, you and Marty been trying to meet for quite a while on the datum thing that could get moved up or squished. You just don't
We've
know.
been talking about doing that for
12 years.
probably 12 years, yeah. Yeah, probably even before that, but we've been kind of serious about it for 12 years.
Mhm. 6 different railroad people I was worked with.
I'd like to think that we're closer than we've ever been.
I'm not counting the chickens, they're not hatched yet.
Could be a fox up there, a hen house. If you would want to approve that this week, you could. 'Cause I'll have to
Send that in.
send that in. I actually had click approve, and Courtney gives me the book page that she recorded it on, and
Okay.
we don't even send them, we used to sign these, send them the formal copies, but we don't do that anymore, it's all computer.
Okay, Dave has gone over the formal 5-year road construction plan for Carroll County. What's the wishes of the board? Is there a motion to approve it? Would you like to study the week and move it on?
What are we gonna refute? I mean, it's, I'm certainly comfortable moving forward with it. It needs to be done also, March 31st, right?
April 15th,
April 15th,
yeah.
okay. So, and it's nothing we have to publish, but I think, I think it needs to be done. So if there's no further objections, I'd make a motion to approve the county's 5-year plan, the DOT 5-year plan.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve the DOT 5-year road plan. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carried. Well, good.
Thank you. That's-
I
Thank
think
you,
it was
too.
April-
Thank you.
I believe it was April 13th last year that we approved it, so got it.
Uh,
Time.
It's kind of, it's a secondary road plan and budget.
I
What do you-
didn't know if you had to do this one, or is this just whatever?
They both probably need to be approved. They're kind of one document, they go together.
They are separate documents. Unless this has already been approved.
No.
Okay,
No,
so
so-
we've approved the Iowa DOT Secondary Road Construction Program Plan. So what you're saying, Dave, is we also need to approve the budget.
A lot of times it's the road program and budget, they're kind of lumped together and
Mhm.
approved as one.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, now a motion has been made to approve the Iowa DOT Secondary Road Budget. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That motion is also carried.
That always fouls me up. We approve the budget in the budget, but this is your budget for the DOT. Yeah, I'm with you. It trips me up every year.
Okay.
I've got one drain, Dan Wink called in, talked to Becky, in Grant Township, section 10, drain 74. There's a hole in the tile, he put a board in it to mark the place, and it shows where it is up there.
Okay.
I got one.
Okay, last week, We had drain 33 in section 26 of Sheridan Township, I think Steve Daniel. Have you had a chance to look at that one yet?
We did, we surveyed the outlet of that one, and we don't feel it justifies any cleaning. It was adequate fall.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. It was just noted in the minutes that you were gonna look at it, and you did,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, Paul went out.
Okay,
We charged the drain for a little bit of surveying that those guys do.
okay, very good.
Uh,
Thanks, Dave. Okay. Any other drains?
No.
Okay, let's go to the Dedham Shed. Here we got the paper.
Do we want to approve
Approve
the
that.
repair on drain 74?
We
You
do.
know, we do, Mark.
Yep,
So moved.
I'll second it.
It's been moved second to approve work on drain 74 in section 10 of Grant Township. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, let's vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Thank you, Mark. Okay, now let's go to Dedham Shed.
Dedham, see the picture of the Dedham shed there, our grader shed, and a little colored yellow area that's 60 by 90. Marty and I talked to Sporer down
Bob
there,
Sporer, yeah.
Bob Sporer, and they're wanting to use that, fence that area in, use it as kind of a play area for the kids, the way it sounded.
Mhm.
And their building, their concession stand and restrooms are also encroaching on that area right now, which we thought it might be a good time to talk to the board about that, whether you would allow them to use that area. Marty talked to John Warden about it.
Yeah, I visited with John last Wednesday in regards to this as far as the liability, because they're looking at putting playground equipment on it. John's suggestion was either we sell it off or do a long-term lease on it. After talking to Dave, I think we'd be better off doing a long-term lease and just doing a minimal charge on it. And I just wanted to bring it to the board to see what you guys' thoughts are, how long-term and what we want for monetary value. I mean, I'd like to keep it minimal, you know, say like $1 a year, $5 a year, or something like that, but that's just to cover the liability. That way they are in charge of the liability, we're not. If we just give it to them, then we as the county are in charge of the liability issues if anything happens.
John's the attorney, but if we lease it, we're still under the gun for liability though, right?
Not according to John. That's he said either sell it or lease it. And he said, and then he would draw something up as far as the lease that they have to carry the liability insurance.
I was given different advice on a warehouse that was wanted to be rented for use, and I would still have liability for the person using it, even if they sign, you know, no matter what.
I would think there's still some.
You can, as long as you own it,
extension
my legal advice on that one, and they want to do a haunted house in a warehouse, but anyhow, I was advised by legal counsel not to do it because there's too much liability there, even if I had a lease.
That's what John told me on Wednesday. and
Okay.
that's-
How much ground again? I mean, we were down
60
there.
by 90, so
Yeah, it's
5,400
pretty
square
small.
feet,
60 by 90.
And
a little more than a tenth of an acre.
is that LP tank right where it shows on this picture?
No, it's been moved.
That has been moved to the north side of the building there?
Correct.
That's over the north side
So
now?
it's
So it's
over
right
there.
here?
Yep, it's
Okay,
getting there now.
okay, that's
Yep, that's been taken care of.
very good. And then, what has been any past or perceived potential future use of that property?
That's my question.
Yeah.
Look really close in your crystal ball. Can you see any need for it ever?
The additional property?
For this property we're talking
That
about?
parcel.
Yeah.
No, I'd hate to part with it.
You'd hate to part with it?
I'd hate to part with it all, though, their building is encroaching more, or it looks like our building's actually sitting on the vacated street. We don't have Title II, but, this all is approximate anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Do we own any of the property just north of the shed there?
We do, they're using that as a parking lot now, have for years, parked on it.
Is all this ours too?
Yeah, that's all county property there, yeah.
You got that whole red box there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're, actually, we're actually a liability by letting them park in there too.
Yeah.
In regards to how it's drawn, the 60 by 90 on the picture, it appears to butt right up against that building, and I would think that we would want a little bit of a space behind our building, just
Yeah.
to do maintenance, repairs to the building or whatever, or else we'd be on their property if we sell it, or lease property.
If we sell it, we most certainly would. If
If-
we lease it,
If we lease it or whatever, we have to have it at the bare minimum, an easement to enter that property to maintain our building or do something like that.
Actually, where that red line is at, back here, there will not be a fence here. This will all be open. They're just gonna fence this area.
Right
But they're
from
not
the corner.
concerned, what they're concerned with is so the kids aren't out in the parking area, is their concern. So this won't be closed in here.
Okay, but I guess my point is still that
Just an easement.
we need to have access to the back
Yeah.
end of our building for
Yeah.
all
You know,
kinds of little things.
Repairs or whatever.
Absolutely.
that is where a propane line comes in, is in the back end, it's drenched around, it does come in here in the back end.
Where's the LP tank now?
It's over on the north side.
Right up in here somewhere?
Yeah, it's about right in here is where it's at. They moved that, because they didn't want that as an issue with the kid, with that concession stand, they did that.
I think the kids were playing on it, weren't they?
Yeah,
Jumping on it?
it's like a horse.
Yeah, they were riding it, yeah. Okay, that's those damn kids do, I guess.
Well, I know a pretty kid that did that too.
How big?
The tank or the kid? Okay. My heart wants me to cooperate, because I think that getting a fence put up in that respective area would certainly be a good safety
Issue,
issue. Solve a safety issue, apparently, to segregate the young kids from the parking area and the traffic area. So I'm totally in favor of getting a fence put up there, and I assume the city would want to do that.
Mhm.
Little have a difference of opinion with our legal counsel on the leasing versus sale, but I would prefer to actually lease it, just because the future's full of uncertainties, and
Mhm.
we may need that property to do an expansion of the building or something sometime. I can't even tell you what.
You just never know, but you hate to get rid of property that you
Yeah,
own.
they're not
Sure.
making any more.
It's
It's a
it's a hard thing to
irreversible,
come by.
a sale is an irreversible decision usually.
Mhm.
And as far as that, if we lease it as opposed to sell it, if they just take the fence up to that, I don't see any issue with the kids at the back of that shed, actually, just a tin wall, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing they can hurt or.
There's no
get hurt
door on that backside, is there?
No.
Okay, good question. So, and then if we lease it, we could have it written in there where we can have ingress and egress to any part of that property for maintenance or whatever. Well, any more thoughts of the board? I'm in favor of leasing it, although I do have a little difference of opinion with our legal counsel, and
I do too.
I would expect the board to go with the attorney as opposed to me on that difference of opinion, but
Yeah, and that's where I wanna go with this, is I have John draw something up, and then if we determine how long a lease we wanna have, so we can kinda put that in it, and then we approve the final lease when it's put together. That's
Yeah.
kinda where I'm headed with it.
and maybe just have them pay a minimal amount, $10 or whatever, for the whole 5 years or whatever, 10 year, whatever we do for the lease period.
A dollar, I might as well,
Yeah,
might as well
whatever
do
amount.
a
Do like a
dollar.
10-year lease for $1 a year, would that be
Yeah.
feasible?
And I think the term of the lease is almost more important than the dollar amount is insignificant, of course.
Right.
I mean, unless you'd want to recover John's time, Annie, would be the only thing, but I mean.
Yeah. That's what I don't know.
I'm, from a liability standpoint, I want to sell it, but the lack of recovery makes me say the wiser choice is to lease it. But,
And on the other side of the liability thing is, I don't think our liability is getting any worse because we lease it. because they're still out there.
Right.
Yeah,
We're
it's
still
already-
letting them play on it.
It's already been done.
Right.
We're exposed to the
They can
same
be playing on it
we
now.
aren't exposing ourselves to additional liability, I guess.
Mhm.
They've been using it for years. haven't they?
Yeah, so our
Yeah.
liability's been there just by letting them do it, by not fencing them out, actually.
Yeah.
And this is to the city, correct?
Yes, City of Dedham.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, you know, I'd like to throw that parking area in too, simply because of the fact that if you have people parking there, if somebody gets backed, a little kid gets backed over or something like that,
That's a good point.
you know, then if we own the property, then we're liable. And there's no designated parking areas out there, and I guess, is that an issue? I mean, I can see it to be,
Mhm. Could be.
Be pretty easy to describe. It might even be easier to describe. That's probably gonna be the hardest thing about this, is
Mhm.
writing a description for this.
I can bring it up to John, I mean, see what his
well,
thoughts are.
you know, I mean, I think we just have just as much
Liability.
exposure there as we do.
That would be a good question for John, if we would lease them the whole parking lot, if that would favor our liability situation or not.
Mhm.
If it reduces it, that's fine.
I can ask that question.
I would expect that we use that parking area too, just to drive through on quite often. I would expect them, road maintainers, just to be cutting right through there when there's no cars in there.
That could happen. Usually, winds up sitting on the slab out front of the building,
Yeah.
the grader does, and the individual's vehicle that he brings down there, there's enough room for them both there.
Is there any, do we ever use that parking lot to pile material or anything like that at any time? Okay,
Good.
I don't know, just a question.
Mess up the ball. Never have, no.
Yeah.
I think very possibly might a little seal coat rock been dumped there before, but that's always just short term.
What, just thinking this out loud, Marty's been working with our attorney on this. I think we've had a little bit of discussion on this. I would feel comfortable having Marty go back and visit with Worden again about some of our questions and issues and come back with some kind of proposal
Mhm.
and then make a decision. Does that sound reasonable, Board? Would you be willing to follow
Yeah.
through in this, Marty?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of my thoughts, is have John put something together and then we make the final approval as a board.
Okay. All right, that sound okay to the Board?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's pursue that. While we're talking about legal stuff and our county attorney, I did send a email to John asking him, this has to do with an easement on a septic line on the county thing. And he had a very terse response that to determine the location of the line, et cetera, is the job of surveyors, not a county attorneys. And the easement would be quite easy to do, but he basically said he wasn't gonna determine the location of it. Do any of those papers you have show that he could use or not?
They do, but I believe that this, it probably have to be the surveyor
Okay.
to do that, because it's gonna need a meets and bounds description. It's offset off the road, but then it makes an angle, and it's offset at the road at a different distance, so that's gonna have to be described. And it would be easily described by a surveyor, but it would take a land surveyor to do it, so.
Okay, so this was gonna be in my committee reports, but I'd prefer to cover it now that you're here, Dave, and you've got that information. So I basically hit a dead end on the easement thing because John doesn't have surveyed measurements to work with, and he's obviously an attorney, not a surveyor. So I understood his answer and why.
Mhm.
With our road projects, if we can describe a piece of roadway as a strip acquisition, like say the west 30 feet of the northwest quarter, and the southwest of blah, blah, if we can describe it like that, we can write it without being a surveyor. The alignment of this isn't conducive to
Okay.
that.
So,
So it's gonna have to be a centerline description, written with meets and bounds description, probably maybe 20 feet in width. I asked Randy about it, he said that would
Okay.
probably.
all right.
Do you want me to just take care of it and get a surveyor, or?
that's up to the board, and that's what I think we're gonna have to do that. I think we're gonna have to get it surveyed first, and then, in order to get the park easement down
Yeah.
there. So, I would appreciate that, Dave, then, because you know those people.
Yeah.
Does that sound acceptable to the board?
What kind of cost would we expect to
Well,
incur with that?
I'd hate to guess, but probably less than 1,000.
So I'm guessing probably $500-600 is my guess.
Yeah.
Or
Is that
maybe-
something that we just want to be absorbing then? Or is that pass along, or?
Well, there's two things involved here. One is to get an easement on that, which I would think, since it's already there, that if we needed to fix it, he couldn't stop us anyhow. But John was very cooperative. I don't want to put him in a, Mr. Renzi was very cooperative. I don't want to put him in Bud Light, but that's one thing. But I think the main thing we do need to do is get it recorded as being there, so anyone who comes in the future or buys a chunk of land off that, wants to build, they know that that line is there and it's recorded in the recorder's office. In order to do that, I think we'll have to have it surveyed to show exactly where it is.
Yeah.
So for that means, we got to get the survey for two things, to properly record it and for the easement. And the recording of it is the bigger issue in my opinion, but
I think it's easier to correct the problem now than let it go. I mean, you let it go and something does happen,
Yeah,
and then it's a liability.
Got a
But
good
you're
set
you're
of
talking
plans.
mostly about the cost of this.
Well, yeah.
Who
I mean,
covers the
yeah,
cost?
Who's gonna cover the cost of it? I mean,
so I think we're gonna get stuck with the cost, Mark. And I think we should, in order just to prevent future issues. The cost could be a lot bigger if someone buys 5 acres off of there and starts building. I don't know, that's my suggestion. That's just my 2 cents worth.
I
We're
agree
board.
with you.
Any other thoughts?
I agree with you. I think it's
Marty,
easier.
other approaches?
It's not our property.
This is why we're having our discussion here, because
But
we're
the
all.
line is ours.
It's your line.
It's our line.
It's your line on their property,
Mhm.
and you better get an easement.
Yeah.
And he's willing to do it,
Yeah.
so it's a good thing.
Mhm.
John wants it done as well.
Yeah.
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 Any other,
Is it possible to share the cost?
okay, so the idea is to authorize the engineer to get that surveyed so that we can get a recording and easement. Is there any better ideas, and any devil's advocate points of view are appreciated, so we don't make an error on this as well, obviously. And the issue is the expense. That's the issue.
as I see it,
I understand that.
I don't know, are we thinking everything through, all of our options through?
Okay.
Well, I just said, is there any chance we can share the expense with the owner? Is that a possibility?
It's not really to his benefit,
Okay.
the current owner. of
Well,
the
he wants
property.
it done now.
Yeah, he wants to delineate it, but it's,
If you discover a gas line under your property, I think the gas company's gonna be paying all the work, not you as the owner. It's their,
That's a good point.
it's their utility.
Yeah,
mm,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how do you wanna proceed? Do you wanna?
Where the sewer line goes into the city sewer line though?
Down by
Yes.
30th.
So does the city not have any say in this either?
no, it's actually our private sewer line, or the county home's private sewer line traversing across somebody else's property, and we don't have an easement for it. And just like my backyard, the city's got an easement for their water line, and my private sewer line actually runs down that same easement. And so it's a good time to get it straightened out. We do the same thing with the roads, we have easements for those.
So if someone were to build a house there, could they tap into that sewer line?
I think so, yeah.
So then we'd be sharing it at that point, possibly.
I think if it were to be annexed out there, it would then become the city sewer line. And of course, they'd want to know where it was at too, and they'd want to record the easement too. And so someday when that property becomes annexed and developed out there, I think it being our sewer line, probably you're in the driver's seat as far as somebody would want to connect to it.
I would say if someone wanted to connect, and they'd have to have our permission. I don't know why we wouldn't cooperate, but.
But
that's-
yeah, you know,
that's
I'm
technically
just-
how it
That's
works.
all the more reason to have it recorded.
What we're doing here is, it wasn't properly done the first time.
Mhm.
We could kick it down the road and let somebody else worry about it, or we could solve the issue now. Are there any other options?
There's a real nice set of engineering plans that have come with it, so the Culver Engineering at the time did it, and it was all the way through the Collison Commission and then all the way up through his property too, when Steve Tacker brought the plans out. Made a copy of them.
I would think if the survey were looking at that, it'd be fairly simple for them to bring it up to date.
Yeah, just a few shots is all it's gonna take.
Any better options? Always looking for better option. Is that the consensus of the board then to go ahead?
I think so.
Whose budget will pay for it?
Good question, Mark.
Just ask it.
That's why we're having the discussion.
We could take it out of the line that we use for Mallard View expenses. They don't normally spend, I think we allocate 10,000 for them, and they don't normally spend all 10. So we could probably take it out of there.
That would probably be most appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a great question, Mark. Then Mallard View would need to be informed of that in case they want to buy a commercial clothes washer or something, with furnace or whatever they do with that. Okay.
Do you need a motion to that effect?
I think we should, but we really don't have it on the
Need
agenda.
to add it to the agenda first.
We either need to add it to the agenda this week or next week. Next week would be fine.
Let's just go next week.
Let's put it on.
Let's
next
put
week.
this on, let's do that. Let's put this on the agenda for next week, and we can have a little more thought on it over the week. Mark says, well, if we looked at all the options, maybe we'll think of another option between now and then. And if we don't, we'll have it on the agenda to correctly handle, so. Okay, does that sound good? Agenda item next week?
So,
Okay. Box culverts, Dave, sorry to intercept your
Oh, that was fine.
option there.
Get the contracts with the 3 box culverts with that on March 7th, Midwest Contracting. Marshall, Minnesota, there's 3 copies of the contract. Got one of those yellow stickers for the example for the first one there. And there are 3 copies of the bonds to be signed. We've already awarded the contract.
Okay. So we don't need any motion now, we just need to dot it, since we've already approved it, is that correct?
Correct.
Maybe they want blue ink on the rest of them. That's black too.
There's 2 bonds that need to be signed too,
Okay.
same location.
2 more bonds or?
Not what he's flipping in here, Dave.
2 more bonds, boy, yeah.
Okay.
They gave us 3 of each. I think that's the old DOT rule. I think we're now, we're 2 contracts and 1 bond with the DOT. I don't think some of these things are written in stone.
I don't see them making carbon paper anymore. I just think of carbons. You don't see carbon paper anymore, do you?
Sure don't.
That's
Yeah.
pretty handy stuff.
I've got a good carbon paper story to tell you after the meeting.
Well, I think that's everything.
All right. Well, at 10 a.m., we have to have a public hearing, so it's 10 a.m., Dave. Anything else for engineer while he's here? Thanks, Dave. We had a great, appreciate you getting the 5-year plan done, and appreciate all your work in it. It's good work, I know.
Thanks, Dave.
See you this afternoon then.
Have a good week, Dave.
You too, bye-bye.
Okay. 10 a.m., we're scheduled to have a public DNR construction permits hearing for Dave Clucky, Section 22 Eden Township, and Cornerstone LLC, Section 12 Richland Township. So it's 10 a.m. I will open the public hearing. And really briefly, the one, I believe Dave Clucky is adding a shallow pit but not increasing any animal numbers. And Cornerstone, they are going to increase the amount of animal units or the number of animals in the facility but not do any structural changes on the outside.
Right.
So those are the two DNR construction permits, and the public notice and the full information on both of those is here. And I briefly looked them over the weekend, and did you receive any public comments? Any other board members receive any comments?
None.
No.
Nor have I. Okay.
Anyone in attendance?
Anyone in attendance want to make any comments on the DNR construction permits, the two of them? Okay, all right. I will, at 10:02, close the public hearing then. Okay.
We get a motion to approve the,
Permits?
Permits.
Now that we're out of public hearing, it's time to do that. Is there such a motion?
So move.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the DNR construction permits for David Clucky, Section 22 Eden Township, and Cornerstone LLC, Section 12 Richland Township. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Do you want to do the closed session now or hang in until the end of the meeting? What would work best on that?
We told her we were gonna try and call her between 10 and 10:15.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be about now. Let's see here. Let's do that then.
Go into closed session.
I think so.
I make a motion that we go into closed session per Iowa Code Chapter 20.17.